Hey guys, welcome back to the BMW Blog YouTube channel and welcome to Portugal. I am here today to drive the new BMW X2 M35i. This is the top of the line X2. We've talked about this car quite a bit. It's an important car for BMW, especially for the US market, because we're not getting the electric version of it. We're going to talk about that later when I get to drive that particular car. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the driving experience of the car because I'm going to have a chance to push it on some of those nice Portuguese curvy roads. And then, of course, I'm going to take it on the highway as well to see what it means to daily drive this car. There will be a component with city driving as well, so we can touch on that as we get to that point. With the X2 M35i, BMW wanted to infuse a little bit of that MDNA into the car, and that's not easy to achieve. Firstly, because the car has grown in size quite a bit. It weighs over 1,700 kilograms. So for a car of this size, you also need a very powerful engine, or at least quite powerful. And because the X2 is built on the front-wheel drive platform, they're not able to accommodate a 6-cylinder under the hood. So therefore, they have to use the B48 2.0-liter twin turbocharged engine, which was tuned in this car to make 312 horsepower in the US and about 296, 300 in Europe. There is a little bit of a difference because of the OPF filter. 295 pounds-feet of torque, enough to take it from 0 to 60 in about 5.2, 5.4 seconds, which is not too bad. I'm not going to be able to do today a 0 to 60 test, although I believe this is a European spec, so we're not getting the full 312 horsepower in this one. Of course, the sound, it's going to be affected by that OPF as well. So if you're not hearing any great sounds out of this car, it's a combination, of course, of the engine and, of course, because of that OPF. So let's focus on the driving dynamics immediately, because that's probably the one thing that you care the most. First off, it uses a 7-speed DCT transmission, and that's a very same transmission used also in the BMW X1. And some of you might recall our previous video on the X1. It's been probably 2 years now, where we complained a little bit about the responsiveness of that transmission and essentially about its lag. Because in city driving, we encountered strange behavior with that car. You would press the accelerator, the gas pedal, and the car wouldn't really move for about a second. So they're telling me that they fixed that through a software update in this car and also in the X1. So I am curious to test that as well. So as soon as I hit some city streets, I will be able to do that. Immediately when you jump inside the car, you'll realize that this is not a high performance car. I mean, this is a car that's meant to be, like I said earlier, a good daily driver. It's a car that's supposed to be somewhat affordable compared to other BMW SUVs like the X3, the X5, or the X6. And essentially, it's a niche product for BMW. I am definitely impressed with how the car evolved as far as space, as far as premium, as far as quality inside the cabin. Of course, we're going to talk about the design as I hop outside the car, and we can give you more updates on that as well, and my thoughts on the overall exterior design. So overall, the product has been improved without a doubt.
All right, so now let's talk about the design of the car, because it has been a little bit controversial. Of course, in my opinion, it's a little bit better than the outgoing F39, mostly because he has grown in size quite a bit. And that's something that I like about the X2, because it brings it very close in size to the X4. It also looks a lot more like an SUV right now. As you can see from the side too, this is a proper crossover. And that comes across, especially inside, when you see the increased space that you have in the car. Now let's talk about the design of the front. Let's start with that. As you can see, brand new design, somewhat in line with what BMW offers today. You have the same light styling as on the X1 and the i5 and all of that, the slanted double headlamps. BMW said that it's still, the double headlamp, the iconic one. So, let's just go with that official statement there. You have this horizontal slats, a little bit, M-inspired, because they're supposed to be more aggressive in styling than the one on the iX2. Of course, the front area right here, quite aggressive. It's the M Sport Pro package, which gives you that, M aggressiveness, M dynamics that you're supposed to see in the design. And then, of course, you have all these blacked out accents that come with the package. So that's the good part about the car. We're going to talk about the one that I don't really like in the back. But before we do that, let's look on the side just a little bit. It can go up to 21-inch wheels, which is great because the previous X2 did not go that high, and you could see that there was a huge gap in between you know, the fender and the wheel, but now you can close it up with really large wheels, so that's nice. M compound brakes, you can get different caliper colors and all of that. They're actually the same brakes from the previous generation X2, so that hasn't changed. If you look to the side, once again, typical new BMW design, flush door handles. Of course, you see that, very clean lines, not too many lines running across. You have this nice crease right here at the top. Of course, you got another crease in the middle to kind of break down the proportion of the car and make it look a little bit closer to the ground. You have this rocker panel in the same body color as the car, which I like because some of the other BMWs, they have this painted in black or piano black, and it kind of sticks out a little bit too much. Design-wise, as you can see, once again, a lot more crossover than before. It doesn't have the hatchback style that the previous X2 did. It's something that I actually like. I tested in the past the rear seat and also the headroom there, and it's quite adequate for someone that's my height. I know some people hate when I say this, but I'm 6'2", 6'3" tall. That gives you perspective if you have enough space in the back. And now let's talk about my least favorite part in the car, of course, this wind. Oh my God. Welcome to Portugal. They said it's going to be nice and sunny and fun. So, moving on. Double headlamps in the back. A first on a BMW as far as I know, because I don't think they've ever done it before. I asked them why, because they look a little bit weird, honestly. This is probably my least favorite part on the car. I guess the official statement, once again, is that it has to match the double headlamps at the front. That was a styling decision. I wish they'd have just got the traditional L-shaped BMW way. They always look great. Maybe some horizontal bars, but what do I know? I'm not a designer, so let's just say that, you know, this was probably their best idea on the X2. Because he has the M Sport package, Pro package, it is the M35i. You're also getting this M Sport spoiler. Quite aggressive, quite nice. It's not overly done. I wish it was in carbon fiber. I don't even know if they offer that as part of an M Performance program, but we can find that out and let you know. Lower area, of course, you have the diffuser. And my second last favorite part, the fact that you're getting quad pipes on a non-full M car. So we've seen this coming. I've talked about this in the past. I heard about it years ago. I didn't believe it till I first saw it on the X1 M35, but now it's on the X2 M35. It's going to be on some other MPA, M Performance automobile products, as BMW calls them. Yes, it's diluting a little bit the BMW M brand. That was such an iconic M element that you see on M3s, M4s, and M5s. And I just wish BMW kept this element specific and unique to those cars and not put it in all the other cars. So definitely not ideal. You know, trunk space, we've talked about this in the past. You even see the trunk test. More space than before. Of course, it's not as big as an X3 or as an X5, but it's comparable to the X1, for example. I don't have a lot of bags to show you, but you can see it's quite spacious. There is additional room in the underneath there, so you can store quite a few things. We're going to focus more on the driving dynamics today than anything else. With that being said, let's hop behind the wheel and go for a ride.
So what you're getting in this car, it's really the X1 driving experience. So if you've had a chance to drive the X1 M35i or even the X1 28i, which of course it's a little bit underpowered, then you will probably experience the same thing. As you can see, there is a little bit of turbo lag, so even when I try to take off, that turbo lag exists. As always, I suggest going straight into the sport mode because that's going to give you some additional aggressiveness, and you can hear that engine, you know, revving up a little bit more. Of course, you're getting more feedback in the steering, the suspension stiffens up quite a bit, and the overall car feels a lot more responsive. With that, you're also getting some of those burbles, which is not really easy to achieve. All right, so as you can see, I mean, in sport mode, the car, it's a lot more responsive, a lot more composed. I mean, there is a little bit of body roll. Clearly, it's not a full M car, so you will experience that for sure, especially when you're driving on some of those nice, tight roads here. You can use the shift paddles to either, you know, downshift or upshift, or you can use the boost mode for 10 seconds. That's going to give you some additional power for 10 seconds at a time. Nothing new. You've seen this in other BMW products, even in electric vehicles as well. Cornering, not bad for a car of this size, and considering how heavy it is. It also sits lower to the ground, and that helps quite a bit, and that's due to the fact that it comes with the M adaptive suspension, and if I recall correctly from the presentation, that lowers the car by about 15 millimeters. I don't think the option is available in the US or in certain markets, but being a European car, I do have the option to actually test it, and as always, it's nice to have the car sitting close to the ground to be able to push its driving dynamics. Steering feedback. Of course, it's not a full M car. It's not even close to, let's say, to another M performance automobile that I've tested recently. I mean, essentially, it's a crossover that's got some M bits in it. So I didn't expect this car to have really great steering feedback. I mean, it's quite numb, actually. You can see you got to work it quite a bit in order to point the car to go to where you want it to go. But once again, I kind of expected this. And I've actually had a chance to talk to someone about this earlier today. I was asked, you know, how does the car feel? What do you think? And I said, I think it's a good car. I don't think it excels at something in particular. I think it's a car that's meant to take you from point A to point B with a little bit more style, more substance, a little bit more power. And that's exactly what you're getting in this particular M35i version. Of course, if you're looking for even a more affordable option, you can go for the X2 28i, which is available in certain markets, and that's going to be the more economical choice, probably the best choice to use the car as a daily driver. Now I'm in a city driving situation, so let me switch back to the personal mode and we can see how the transmission behaves. So once again, it's not as responsive, and when the engine is not as responsive as in the sport mode. Of course, I expected this. Trying to see if there is, yeah, there is no turbo lag, so that's good. I guess they fixed this because the X1 was a little bit annoying, especially when you try to take off from a stop sign or from a stoplight, but this one seems to be a little bit better, and I can do an even better test right now. Let me stop the car for a second. Yeah, so there is maybe about half a second of a lag, so it's not fully eliminated. So I guess that's the nature of this particular transmission. That was the choice that they've made with the X1 as well. So best thing is to just put it in sport mode, and that's gonna change that behavior a little bit. Now let's talk about the start and stop button, because somebody asked me, can you turn it off? Can you turn off that function? So I found out that because of the regulations, you're not able to actually turn off the start and stop button at all, and you can only eliminate that if you're riding in the sport mode. So in any other mode other than sport, you're not going to be able to manually turn off the start and stop function. Turn radius, I mean, let's see here, actually pretty good, actually not bad at all. I expected to have to turn one more time, but I actually did the job right. Let's push the car a little bit. Of course, there is a fake sound inside the car, so if you hear that, it's not really the engine doing that. I mean, it's a combination of the engine and the fake sound. One thing that BMWs have had for quite some time. You see, sport mode changes the car. Honestly, this is the mode you should be in. I don't even know why I bother trying the other ones. I mean, I guess if you're in a city like Chicago where potholes are quite famous and the roads are not great, then you might want to use that to smoothen the road a little bit. But otherwise, if you're in Portugal and you're able to hit some really nice roads, then I would say stay in sport mode, because that's going to make a difference in the driving behavior of the car, and you'll enjoy the car a lot more. Let's see how the car takes off. Let's give it a shot. Let's see how responsive it is. So not bad. Once the car gets going, it's actually quite fun. Let's do some manual upshifting and downshifting. I mean, it's pretty smooth, actually. When it comes to using the shift paddles to shift the gears, it's actually very, very smooth, so no issue there at all. Yeah, so if I downshift, I mean, the car just takes off. I mean, once you get into the right range, the RPM range, the car really, really comes to life. I mean, it's a lot more fun then. You can see dancing on the road, of course, body roll. You might be wondering about the brakes. Of course, they're M compound brakes. They work as you'd expect. I mean, they're actually quite good. They bite quite well, considering I've been driving the car quite a bit. You are getting, of course, their front-wheel drive experience. You're not gonna have that tail spin as you would have in a rear-wheel drive car or even a M car with a rear-wheel bias. So you will see the front dancing a little bit more, but that's just the nature of the front-wheel drive architecture and something that you will get used to it as you drive. You see, I mean, the car just takes off. Then of course that front end just steps out on you. You gotta be careful that front end. This is a car that has a lot of power towards the front axle, so you gotta really watch that. Of course, when it comes to highway driving, the car comes with a lot of driver assistance features. There are 3 different packages. Of course, it doesn't have the level 2+ as some of the new BMWs do, so essentially you're not gonna be able to go full hands-free for very long periods of time. It's the usual level 2 where you need to be attentive all the time and you have to have the hands on the wheel after about 30 seconds probably, based on what I've tested. But it does come with all the other features like lane assist, lane keep, and all of that, which makes it quite useful, especially in driving situations where you want to relax a little bit. Now let's talk about the interior design a little bit. So one thing that bothers me the most, it's really the fact that there is no more iDrive controller. I've tried to reach for that controller so many times today and I'm still not used to not having it. So BMW, why? I know you're trying to move away from this, but maybe you can change your mind and still keep it there because it's very useful. Also, the operating system 9, it's a little bit laggy. I was told that maybe this particular software version that we have on it's a pre-production car. It's not the latest. So it was a little bit laggy today, but hopefully they address that as it goes into production. Other than that, the interior feels premium, very spacious at the front. Tons of premium materials. I like the beefy steering wheel with a 12 o'clock marker right there. Quite nice to see in a car like this. Sport seats are great. They're made of this Alcantara material with a leather combination. You can have a vegan combination as well. But I do love how they hug me. You know, they were actually quite supportive during the Spirited drive. So I absolutely enjoy them. It's a nice combination also with this black and blue stitching. Absolutely beautiful. And then of course you have the curved display right here, which might not be everybody's cup of tea. But other than that, interior design is fine, definitely a step up over the previous X2. All right, so you might be wondering, should I buy this one or should I buy the BMW X1? So of course, the choice will come down to you. You're looking for something that stands out, and this car definitely stands out, or you're looking for the X1, which might be the more practical option due to its design. Of course, if it was up to me, I would get the X1 because you have a little bit more space. The design allows for a little bit more space in the back as well. So is the BMW X2 a good car? Well, I guess it depends how you quantify that or how you classify what's a good BMW today. If you're looking for the ultimate driving machine, you're not gonna find it in the BMW X2. But if you're looking for a tuned up version of the normal X2, something that maybe will be a little bit more fun on the weekends, then I guess this car will fit the bill. But overall, this is not a car that's very inspiring. It's not a car that will put a smile on your face all the time. Of course, there are certain occasions like today driving here in Portugal where you might find some really nice curvy roads and you can push the car and have some fun, but you're never gonna get that ultimate driving machine that you're used to maybe from a rear-wheel driven M car, for example, or even from an X3 M40i or X4 M40i, which are fantastic cars, by the way. So if you compare it to that, then no. But if you're looking for a normal daily driver with a little bit more tuning in it, maybe a little bit more MDNA in it to some extent, then I would guess this car will fit the bill. So in the end, once again, it really comes down to your personal situation. It comes down to how much money you really want to spend on a car and whether you're really looking at the X2. The X2, it's not a car for everyone. It really caters to a very specific demographic. And I believe BMW is fully aware of that, and that's the reason why they continue to offer this car. So this is the BMW X2 M35i. Of course, we'll have the car for a week-long test, and then we can test maybe more the practicality of the car. We can talk more about the features inside. We can talk more about, you know, digital features, the lack of the iDrive controls and all of that, because I've talked in the presentation videos and that's quite annoying. But more on that in the future. For now, thanks for watching, guys, and let me know in the comments below if you prefer this car or you would prefer to get maybe the X1 instead. As always, I'll see you in the next one.
So how many M badges do you think there are on the BMW X2 M35i? Let me show you.